Captain Zixtal of the Galactic Survey Corps stood proudly on the bridge of the Celestial Seeker, their flagship vessel designed for first contact scenarios. Their species, the Varanians, had perfected the art of impressive entrances over millennia of encountering primitive civilizations. Today's mission seemed routine. Evaluate the technological capabilities of yet another emerging spacefaring race called humans. Status report, Zixtal commanded, their crystalline appendages gleaming under the ship's ambient lighting. Lieutenant Nyrevek manipulated the holographic controls with practiced efficiency. Earth's defensive capabilities appear minimal, Captain. Their orbital space contains primitive satellites, basic space stations, and an excessive quantity of debris. Curious habit, leaving their refuse in orbit, Zixtal noted. Any signs of gravitational manipulation technology? Negative, Captain. They still rely on chemical propulsion for space travel. Our scans detect no evidence of artificial gravity fields beyond their crude rotational systems. Zixtal's membrane rippled with amusement. Another gravity-bound species fumbling their way toward the stars. The mission parameters were clear. Demonstrate superior technology, establish diplomatic contact, and guide them toward proper civilization, assuming they proved worthy. Initiate Protocol Sigma-7, Zixtal ordered. Let's give them a proper first impression. The Celestial Seeker's advanced cloaking field engaged as they positioned themselves above what their data indicated was a prestigious human research facility. The plan was simple: dramatically decloak while simultaneously generating a carefully controlled gravitational display that would demonstrate their mastery over the fundamental forces of the universe. That's when everything started going wrong. The first sign of trouble came when their gravitational sensors began reporting anomalous readings. Lieutenant Nyrevek frowned at her console, her crystalline features refracting light in patterns of confusion. Captain, I'm detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations in the local space-time fabric. The readings don't match any known natural phenomena. Impossible, Zixtal dismissed. Their technology is centuries behind gravitational manipulation. Proceed with the revelation sequence. The massive ship shimmered as its cloaking field prepared to disengage. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. The ship's artificial gravity flickered, causing the crew to float momentarily before crashing back to the deck. What happened? Zixtal demanded, their crystalline form vibrating with irritation. Unknown, Captain. Our gravitational systems are experiencing unexpected interference. Nyrevek's appendages danced across the controls. The local space-time curvature is. It's not behaving according to standard physics models. Through the ship's viewing ports, they could see their position had shifted dramatically. Instead of hovering above the research facility, they found themselves adjacent to a structure labeled Quantum Amusement Park, where physics comes to play. Explain this, Zixtal commanded. Before anyone could respond, a message crackled through their communication systems. The universal translator rendered it in perfect Varanian. Attention, unidentified vessel. You're currently interfering with our gravity wave testing range. Please adjust your position or risk being accidentally incorporated into our experimental recreational physics demonstration. The bridge crew stared at each other in stunned silence. Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with disbelief as they processed the implications. The humans weren't just aware of their presence. They were warning them about interfering with gravitational experiments being conducted at an amusement park. Open a channel, Zixtal ordered, their voice resonating with carefully measured authority. I am Captain Zixtal of the Galactic Survey Corps. Your species has been selected for evaluation. We detect no evidence of advanced gravitational technology in your infrastructure. A laugh came through the channel. Oh, that's because we mostly use it for fun. I'm Dr. Jasmine Patel, head of recreational physics here at Quantum Amusement Park. Would you like a demonstration? We're about to test our new gravity loop roller coaster. Fair warning though, the local space-time gets a bit wobbly. Before Zixtal could respond, their sensors detected a massive surge in gravitational waves. Through the viewport, they watched in horror as a roller coaster train seemingly defied physics, riding waves of curved space-time like a surfboard on water. Fascinating. Dr. Patel's voice came through again. Your ship's gravity field is creating some interesting harmonics with our test equipment. Would you mind sharing your graviton containment specifications? We might be able to incorporate them into our next attraction. Zixtel sank into their command chair, their crystalline form dimming with the realization that this routine survey mission had just become anything but ordinary. The humans hadn't just managed to crack gravitational manipulation. They'd turned it into entertainment. Lieutenant Nairavek, they said quietly, begin recording a new first contact protocol. Title it, Warning. When dealing with humans, always check for recreational physics. The coffee shop incident. After the disastrous first contact attempt at the quantum amusement park, Captain Zixtel decided to pursue a more traditional diplomatic approach. Their research indicated that humans often conducted important business meetings in establishments called coffee shops. Unfortunately, they chose the one directly adjacent to the university's advanced physics department. A diplomatic mission shouldn't be this complicated, Zixtel muttered, their crystalline form carefully disguised by advanced holographic technology to appear human. Lieutenant Nairavek, similarly disguised, followed close behind as they entered the Event Horizon Coffee House. The establishment's name should have been their first warning. Inside, doctoral students and professors hunched over tablets and laptops, the air thick with the aroma of caffeine and the quiet murmur of quantum mechanics debates. Their target was Dr. Jasmine Patel, who had so thoroughly disrupted their dramatic entrance the day before. They found her in a corner booth, surrounded by what appeared to be napkins covered in complex equations. She didn't look up as they approached, too focused on drawing what appeared to be a diagram of nested gravity wells. Dr. Patel, Zixtel began, using their most diplomatically imposing tone. We wish to discuss yesterday's incident. Oh, hey there, the gravity surfers. Jasmine grinned, finally looking up. Pull up a chair. Want some coffee? Fair warning. The artificial gravity field from your holographic disguises is making the cream do some pretty interesting things in the cups. Zixtel's crystalline form flickered beneath their hologram in surprise. You can detect our disguises. Well, yeah, you're bending light wrong. She grabbed a fresh napkin and quickly sketched out a series of equations. See, if you adjusted your quantum field harmonics like this, you'd get much better resolution. Right now, you both look like you're wearing suits made of TV static. Lieutenant Nairavek, despite their training, couldn't help but lean forward to examine the calculations. But these are advanced photonic manipulation equations. Your species shouldn't even understand the underlying principles. Oh, those. Yeah, we figured those out trying to make better virtual reality gaming systems. Jasmine waved dismissively. The math was a bit tricky until we realized we could use the same principles that make our roller coasters work. A group of graduate students at the next table perked up at the mention of roller coasters. One of them, wearing a t-shirt that read Quantum Mechanics, because classical physics was too easy, called out, "Hey, Dr. P. Is this about the new quantum loop design?" Not now, Trevor. I'm trying to help our extraterrestrial visitors with their hologram problems. Jasmine turned back to the increasingly uncomfortable aliens. So about yesterday. Sorry if we messed up your grand entrance. We really should put up better warning signs about local space-time distortions. Zixtel's diplomatic training was failing them entirely. Warning signs for space-time distortions at an amusement park. Well, yeah. Safety first, right? Jasmine took a sip of her coffee, which was now floating in perfectly spherical droplets above her cup. Oh, neat, your gravity field is getting stronger. Stress response. Before Zixtel could respond, Trevor from the next table had pulled up a chair. You guys are generating your own gravity field. Cool. We've been working on something similar for the park's new zero-G coffee shop. Want to see the math? The next hour became a blur of napkin equations and enthusiastic physics discussions. Every time Sixtel tried to steer the conversation toward proper diplomatic protocols, someone would point out another flaw in their ship's fundamental systems. By the time 3 more graduate students had joined them, Lieutenant Nerevek was openly taking notes. "Your approach to graviton containment is really interesting," one student mentioned, "but have you considered using quantum entanglement to stabilize the field? We figured that out trying to make a better ping-pong table." "A ping-pong table?" Sixtel managed to ask. "Sure. Regular ping-pong is boring in normal gravity. So we thought, why not make the ball's trajectory probability-based? It's way more fun when you don't know if the ball will go over the net or phase through it." Jasmine, now on her 4th coffee, all of which were performing increasingly complex orbital patterns above her cup, smiled sympathetically at the overwhelmed aliens. "Look, I get it. You came here expecting to find a primitive civilization that you could guide toward the stars. Instead, you found a bunch of physics nerds who turned fundamental forces into toys because we thought it would be fun. But that's not how species are supposed to develop." Sixtel protested. "There's a proper order. Chemical rockets, ion drives, gravitational manipulation for serious scientific purposes." "Ah, see, that's where you went wrong," Jasmine explained, catching a coffee droplet mid-orbit. "You assumed we'd only use this stuff for serious things. Humanity's greatest breakthroughs often come from someone asking, wouldn't it be cool if?" As if to emphasize her point, Trevor successfully balanced a spoon in midair using nothing but careful manipulation of the alien's leaking gravitational field. "Hey, Dr. P, think we could scale this up for a new carnival game?" Sixtel watched in mounting horror as the assembled humans began enthusiastically planning ways to turn their ship's gravitational field harmonics into an entertainment system. Lieutenant Nerevek, traitorously, was taking even more notes. "Perhaps," Sixtel suggested weakly, "we should discuss this somewhere more private." "Oh, sure," Jasmine agreed cheerfully. "Want to head back to the park? We're about to test the quantum tunneling water slides, and I'd love to get your input on the probability matrices." Sixtel's holographic disguise flickered noticeably. "The what?" "Quantum tunneling water slides. You know, for when you want to go down the slide but also maybe end up in the pool on the other side of the park. The math's basically the same as your teleporter system, just with more chlorine." It was at this point that Sixtel realized their mission had gone so far off the rails that the rails themselves had probably been repurposed for some sort of physics-defying roller coaster. They made a mental note to update the first contact protocols again. "Warning. Humans will turn anything into a recreational activity. Anything. Gravity games." The situation had escalated far beyond Captain Sixtel's worst nightmares. What should have been a simple diplomatic meeting had somehow turned into an impromptu physics demonstration at the local science museum. The museum's main hall was now filled with an enthusiastic crowd of physicists, engineers, and, most worryingly, elementary school students on a field trip. And now, Dr. Jasmine Patel announced to the gathered crowd, "Our visitors from the stars have agreed to help us demonstrate some fundamental principles of gravitational manipulation." "We agreed to no such thing," Sixtel whispered frantically. "Oh, come on," Jasmine whispered back. "The kids are really excited to see some alien technology in action. Besides, your ship's gravitational field is already interfering with our quantum exhibit. Might as well make it educational." Lieutenant Nerevek, who had long since abandoned any pretense of maintaining proper diplomatic protocol, was helping a group of 3rd graders build what they claimed was a gravity maze, using parts from the museum's gift shop. "Look, Captain," Nerevek called out excitedly. "These children have developed a fascinating method of visualizing gravitational waves using something called silly putty and glitter." Sixtel watched in horror as their supposedly elite reconnaissance mission devolved into an interactive science exhibit. The museum's central atrium had been transformed into what the humans were calling a gravity playground. with various stations demonstrating different aspects of spatial manipulation. "Now, pay attention, kids," Jasmine addressed the young audience. "Our friends here are going to show us how their ship's artificial gravity works. Then we're going to see if we can reproduce it using the equipment from our Build Your Own Universe workshop." "This is highly irregular," Zixtal protested weakly. "Our technology is classified." "Not anymore, it isn't." Trevor called out from where he was setting up what appeared to be a modified ping-pong table. "We reversed engineered most of it during coffee break. Did you know your graviton containment field has the same resonance frequency as a caffeinated human's brainwaves?" "Pure coincidence, I'm sure." A small girl raised her hand. "Dr. Patel, can we show the aliens our science fair project?" "Absolutely, Sophie. Captain, you're going to love this." Sophie's class has been working on miniature wormholes using the principles of quantum entanglement and, get this, rubber bands. Before Zixtal could process the implications of elementary school students creating wormholes as a class project, Sophie and her friends had set up their demonstration. Using what appeared to be everyday craft supplies, they had somehow created a stable microscopic Einstein-Rosen bridge. "See," Sophie explained proudly. "When you twist the rubber bands just right and add some quantum uncertainty, you can make space go all wobbly. We were going to use it to pass notes in class, but Mrs. Johnson said that transdimensional communication during tests counts as cheating." The museum's director, Dr. Harrison Wells, approached with an excited gleam in his eyes. "Captain, would you mind if we added your ship to our permanent exhibit? We've been looking for a good example of outdated gravitational technology to show the historical development of space-time manipulation." "Outdated?" Zixtal's holographic disguise flickered dangerously. "Our ship represents the pinnacle of Varanian engineering." "Oh, certainly," Dr. Wells agreed diplomatically. "It's just that. Well, our gift shop's anti-gravity snow globes operate on more advanced principles. Speaking of which, Lieutenant Nairovic, would you like one? The children made it for you." Nairovic, now completely abandoning any pretense of alien superiority, was delightedly shaking a snow globe that seemed to violate several fundamental laws of physics. "Captain, look. The snowflakes form perfect fractal patterns in six-dimensional space." The situation deteriorated further when the museum's Teenage Volunteer Club showed up with their latest project, a quantum basketball court where the hoops existed in a state of quantum superposition until observed. "The trick," explained one teenager while casually dribbling a ball through what appeared to be a localized time dilation field, "is to aim where the hoop will probably be, not where it is. We're thinking of adding some parallel universe variants next week." Zixtal watched in mounting despair as their mission to evaluate human technological progress turned into an interactive children's science show. The final straw came when Sophie's class decided to demonstrate their understanding of multiple dimension theory using nothing but pipe cleaners and bubble solution. "And if you fold space like this," Sophie demonstrated, creating bubbles that seem to exist in more than 3 dimensions, "you can make shortcuts through the universe. We figured it out trying to find a faster way to get to the cafeteria." Dr. Patel patted the increasingly distressed captain on the shoulder. "Don't feel bad. This is pretty much how we react to all fundamental physics principles. We immediately try to figure out how to make them fun. Why do you think our particle accelerator is shaped like a water slide?" "Your what?" "Oh, right. That's next on the tour. The kids built it for last year's science fair. It's not very powerful, only creates a few micro-singularities, but it won first place in the most creative use of swimming pool equipment category." As Zixtal watched a group of 5th graders successfully demonstrate quantum teleportation using nothing but recycled soda bottles and LED lights, they made yet another addition to their growing list of warnings about Earth. Note: human children's understanding of quantum mechanics may exceed Varanian theoretical limits. Approach all science fairs with extreme caution. Pride and propulsion. The Varanian High Command's response to Captain Zixtel's increasingly frantic reports was predictably skeptical. After reviewing the footage from the Science Museum incident, they dispatched their most prestigious scientific expert, Grand Theorist Caxanor, to evaluate the situation personally. This, as it turned out, was perhaps their greatest miscalculation yet. Impossible. Caxanor declared for the 7th time in as many minutes, their crystalline form vibrating with indignation. These readings cannot be correct. Humans simply cannot have achieved this level of gravitational control using. They consulted their datapad, using something called bouncy castle technology. Dr. Jasmine Patel smiled patiently. They were standing in the testing area of Quantum Amusement Park's newest attraction. The probability plunge. What appeared to be a normal bounce house was producing gravitational effects that made Caxanor's instruments spark with confusion. "Oh, that's just the warm-up area," Jasmine explained. "We use it to help visitors get used to existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Kids pick it up really quick. Adults sometimes need a few tries to stop thinking in just 3 dimensions." Lieutenant Nairovic, who had by now completely gone native, was bouncing enthusiastically in a corner where gravity seemed to be more of a suggestion than a law. "Captain, the humans have mathematically proven that you can achieve quantum tunneling through pure joy." Caxanor turned to Zixtel, their voice dropping to a horrified whisper. "Your lieutenant appears to be experiencing temporal echoes. There are currently 7 versions of them existing simultaneously." 8 called out all versions of Nairovic at once. "I think I just discovered a new dimension. Can we keep it?" Before Caxanor could properly process this violation of fundamental physics, Trevor appeared, wearing a t-shirt that read Schrödinger's lab assistant, both productive and napping until observed. "Hey, Dr. P, the quantum carousel is ready for testing. We finally fixed that issue where riders were accidentally experiencing their past and future lives simultaneously." "Excellent." Jasmine beamed. "Would our visitors like to observe? We've integrated some of the principles from your ship's gravitational systems, though we had to seriously downgrade the power to make it more fun." "Downgrade?" Caxanor sputtered. "Our technology represents the pinnacle of gravitational engineering." "Well, yeah, but it's so rigid," Trevor explained, pulling out yet another napkin covered in equations. "You're trying to control gravity. We're trying to dance with it. Watch this." He pressed a button on his tablet, and the carousel began to spin. Instead of regular horses, it featured what appeared to be abstract mathematical concepts given physical form. As it rotated, the space around it began to twist in ways that made Caxanor's sensors emit a high-pitched whine of protest. "Are those riders experiencing quantum superposition?" Zixtel asked, unable to contain their scientific curiosity. "Kind of," Jasmine replied cheerfully. "We found that if you combine gravitational waves with quantum uncertainty and add just a hint of childlike wonder, you can achieve some really interesting effects. Watch what happens when we turn on the bubble machine." The addition of iridescent bubbles to the quantum field created a cascading series of micro-universes, each containing its own version of the carousel. Riders gleefully shifted between realities, their laughter echoing across multiple dimensions. Caxanor frantically consulted their most advanced theoretical models. "This defies all known laws of physics." "Oh, we're not defying them," Trevor corrected. "We're just treating them more like guidelines. Very enthusiastic guidelines that like to party." A group of senior citizens walked past, heading toward something called the time dilation tennis courts. One elderly woman paused to pat Caxanor's holographically disguised shoulder. "Don't worry, dear. The first time I played 4th-dimensional badminton, I was nervous too. Just remember, the shuttle exists in all possible states until you hit it." Jasmine led them to the park's central control room, which looked more like a cross between a scientific laboratory and a game developer's workspace. Screens displayed real-time data from various attractions, each one representing a different breakthrough in theoretical physics. "And here's our pride and joy," she announced, pointing to a massive display showing what appeared to be a roller coaster track that occasionally ceased to exist in normal spacetime. We call it Schrödinger's Screamer. It's simultaneously the most thrilling and most relaxing ride in the universe, until you experience it. But, Kaxnor struggled to form coherent sentences. Your species still uses chemical rockets for space travel. We've seen them. Oh, those. Trevor laughed. Yeah, we keep those around because they're fun. Nothing beats the raw excitement of controlled explosions. Plus, they make great exhibits for our History of Adorably Primitive Propulsion Museum. A child ran past, chasing what appeared to be a paradox given physical form. Mom, I caught another temporal anomaly. Can we keep it? Only if you promise to walk it through multiple probability streams every day, her mother replied, not looking up from where she was adjusting the quantum phase alignment of a hot dog stand. Kaxnor turned to Zixtal, their holographic disguise glitching with stress. Captain, I believe I now understand your earlier reports. Humans haven't just mastered gravitational manipulation. They've turned it into an art form. A very enthusiastic art form. Wait until you see the gift shop, Nairavek called out from several quantum states simultaneously. They have snow globes that contain entire pocket universes. I bought one for everyone back at command. They're going to love the way it reorganizes space-time every time you shake it. Zixtal watched as their prestigious scientific expert was dragged off by excited physics enthusiasts to examine something called a probability percussion orchestra, where musicians played instruments that existed in quantum superposition until observed. They added one final note to their ever-growing report. Warning: humans do not respect the dignity of fundamental forces. They make the laws of physics do tricks for snacks. The final lesson. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Federation's Contact Assessment Board was not going well. The chamber, designed to host dignified discussions about the advancement of primitive species, had descended into chaos as the presentation from Earth continued to defy explanation. Order. We will have order. High Commissioner Vectrol demanded, their crystalline form flashing warning patterns. They turned to Captain Zixtal, who stood at the center of the chamber. Captain, you mean to tell us that humans have not only mastered gravitational manipulation, but have turned it into entertainment? That's not even the worst part, Zixtal replied wearily. They're teaching it to their children, as an elective, with craft supplies. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Lieutenant Nairavek, still existing in several quantum states simultaneously thanks to their experience on the probability plunge, enthusiastically displayed their collection of souvenir quantum snow globes, each containing what appeared to be a perfectly miniaturized universe. And they're selling these in gift shops, another commissioner demanded. With a student discount, Nairavek confirmed cheerfully. Also, if you buy 3, you get a free quantum uncertainty cone. It's ice cream that exists in all possible flavors until you taste it. Before the board could process this latest violation of fundamental physics, the chamber's doors burst open. Dr. Jasmine Patel strode in, accompanied by Trevor, and most worryingly, a group of elementary school students wearing junior quantum engineer badges. Sorry we're late, Jasmine announced. We had to take a slight detour through a few parallel dimensions. Traffic was terrible in this reality. This is outrageous, High Commissioner Vectrol declared. This is a closed session of the... Actually, Trevor interrupted, consulting a tablet. According to your own regulations, any species being evaluated has the right to present evidence of their technological advancement. We brought visual aids. Sophie, the young girl from the Science Museum, stepped forward with what appeared to be an ordinary cardboard box. We made a demonstration. It's our science club project on practical applications of multi-dimensional physics. Before anyone could stop her, she opened the box. The entire chamber gasped as a perfect miniature replica of the quantum amusement park materialized in midair, complete with tiny visitors experiencing quantum superposition on various rides. See, Sophie explained proudly. We figured out how to fold space using safety scissors and glitter glue. The quantum effects are powered by renewable energy, specifically the boundless enthusiasm of children learning about physics for the first time. But, Vectrol sputtered, your species still uses chemical rockets. Oh, those. Jasmine laughed. Yeah, we keep those around because they're honest. There's something beautifully straightforward about solving problems by making controlled explosions. Plus, they're great for teaching Newton's laws of motion to beginners. Trevor nodded. Before you let kids play with quantum uncertainty, you should really make sure they understand the basics. Safety first. The board watched in mounting horror as Sophie's classmates began setting up what they called a quantum show and tell. One by one, children no more than 10 Earth years old demonstrated various violations of what the Galactic Federation had considered immutable laws of physics. And this, announced a small boy named Tommy, is my quantum pet rock. It's simultaneously the best pet ever and not technically a pet at all until you play with it. Watch what happens when I teach it tricks. The rock proceeded to exist in multiple states of being, occasionally phasing through what the Federation had previously considered solid reality. Remarkable, muttered Grand Theorist Caxanor, who had finally stopped glitching after 3 days of intensive therapy. They've somehow weaponized whimsy. The children aren't just manipulating quantum fields, they're doing it through the power of pure imagination. Jasmine beamed. That's actually the subject of my latest paper, the observable effect of joy on quantum probability fields. We've found that positive emotions can stabilize quantum states in ways that pure mathematics can't explain. We call it the just because it's fun principle. This is unprecedented, Vectrol declared. We cannot possibly classify a species that treats fundamental forces of the universe as toys. Why not? Sophie asked, genuinely curious. Just because something's important doesn't mean it can't be fun. Watch this. She proceeded to create a stable time loop using nothing but friendship bracelets and optimism. Captain Zixtel stepped forward. High Commissioner, if I may. I believe we've been approaching this all wrong. We came to Earth expecting to find a primitive species in need of guidance. Instead, we found something far more dangerous, a species that never got the memo about things being impossible. They're right, Caxanor agreed, watching as Tommy's quantum pet rock started teaching itself new tricks. The humans haven't just mastered physics, they've befriended it. They're not constraining themselves with what should be possible. They're too busy exploring what could be fun. The chamber fell silent as this revelation sank in. Finally, High Commissioner Vectrol spoke, their voice carrying the weight of historical significance. Let the record show that as of this date, Earth is being classified as particularly unique. Standard evaluation protocols are hereby declared inadequate. A new classification must be created specifically for species that... They paused, watching as Sophie's quantum science project began spontaneously generating tiny but fully functional universes that simply refused to take reality too seriously. Oh good, Jasmine said brightly. Does this mean we can finally show you our plans for the intergalactic theme park? We're thinking of calling it Physics Fantasia, where every law is more of a suggestion. As the board members tried to process this latest development, Lieutenant Nairovic, now existing in a quantum superposition of various excited states, began enthusiastically distributing brochures for what appeared to be a combination physics symposium and cosmic carnival. Don't worry, Trevor assured the stunned aliens. We made sure all the rides are suitable for silicon-based life forms. Though you might want to avoid the quantum teacups, they tend to get a bit enthusiastic about existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Captain Zixtal made one final entry in their report, which would soon become required reading for all Galactic Federation contact specialists. Final warning. When dealing with humans, remember, they don't just think outside the box. They've taught the box to quantum tunnel, filled it with glitter, and are now selling tickets to the show.